Let's have a look at the row bumping lemma. We do successive bumpings and, well, not bumpings, row insertions, but they come with row bumpings. So we do successive row insertions, and then we compare the bumping path and the position of the final box added to the diagram. So let's start with this tableau here and insert a 2. So here comes my 2. The 2 bumps the 3. 2 bumps the 3. The 3 bumps the 5. The 5 bumps the 6. And the 6 is added to the last row. So what's marked here with these marbles, that's the bumping path down here. Now let's try and bump in something that's larger than what we bumped in before. So for example, if we bump in a 6, then it gets just added here. If you insert a 6, it gets just added here. Same with a 5 or a 4. A 3 would, instead of the 6, a 3 would bump down the 4. And so would a 2. The 2 would also bump down the 4. So as long as we insert something that's at least as large as what we inserted before, then we're gonna stop somewhere to the right of where we stopped in the step before. So we could just end up with a large number with a 6 here, or we could end up somewhere to the right and bump something down. So let's try this. We bump down the 4. The 4 which we bumped down now is larger than the 3 which we bumped down the last time, and it has to be. So the 4 bumps the 5, and the 5 can just be added here. And now the whole path, the new bumping path, dark blue bumping path, is strictly to the right of the previous bumping path. And it has to be like that. As we just said, we start with something that's not smaller here, so we're never going to pass this here. And then we bump, if we bump down something, we bump down something that is not smaller than what we bumped down before. So we'll also not go beyond this 3 here with this 4 and so on. And it could happen that in the end we end up here next to the last thing we bump down in the first bumping path, or it could stop earlier. It could stop as early as just up here. So the final box added, if we compare these, this is also strictly, no, this is strictly to the right and weakly above. So it could be the same place, depending on the tableau and the number we're inserting, same row, but it has to be to the right. Now let's undo this and bump in something smaller. Okay, something smaller. There's only one option. We can bump in a 1. I'm always saying bumping in, but actually we're row inserting a 1, and in the course of this row insertion it's gonna bump down some stuff. Anyway, insert the 1. The 1 bumps this 2 here. So yeah, what happens with this 2? This 2 bumps the 3 which we bumped in the previous step. So this is where we already bumped in the previous procedure, and we're going to bump down this one here again. So that's the 3 that gets bumped down here. The 3 goes all the way to the left and bumps the 4, and the 4 goes all the way to the left and bumps the 5, and now the 5 has to go one row below and ends up here. So we have the first bumping path, 2, 5, 6, this one here, and the new bumping path that's weakly to the left. So it can go through the same box as it did here on the second row, or it can be on the left, as it was on the first row and on lower rows. It can never be, the new bumping path can never end up somewhere on the right, because we start with something smaller, inserting it here, and then what we're going to bump down will also be smaller than what we bumped down before, if we bump down something before. So the worst case that can happen is that you bump, worst case in the sense of left-right here, is that you bump down the same thing again, or you end up to the left but never to the right. So this bumping path here is weakly to the left. Of course also the final marble, the final box edit is weakly to the left. And it will always be strictly below the box which we edit in the first place. So why is that? We're gonna bump something that's smaller than this one here. So the first bumping procedure stops somewhere, and then comes the second bumping procedure, and that comes to this row with something smaller. So it will not just end up here next to it. It will always do at least one more bumping step, as it did here, and put the 5 down here. So that's the row bumping lemma with our cards and marbles.